Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's time for a little bit of Orange Bloods Lives into your lives. I'm Jeff Ketchum, and that is Chad Hastings, and a lot of Longhorn news to get into in and out as I make my triumphant return back to the show after missing yesterday's show. And every day stuff happens. Games were canceled yesterday, and yeah, I've got hot takes on those, Chad, for those that might have been wondering, what did Jeff think about that whole Arizona State thing? Stay tuned. News of the day, though, Chad, before I tell everybody, though, comment, subscribe, tell all your friends, and jump into the chat and use the Specs chat because we love Specs and we love our title sponsor, Texas Card House and Hijack Poker. We'll tell you more about them throughout the show, right? We don't want to get too carried away, but we do love all of our partners. In fact, I'm telling you before today's over, I will be playing some Texas Card House. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I'm going Friday to the spring location. Nice. I'm pretty sure Friday I'm going to the spring location and playing in the Friday night tournament just to get some.
We are starting. Let's just start with some confetti. 225.
I like confetti.
Thank y'all for that. We'll get
Did we
some
even
confetti.
have 25 when you joined?
I mean,
where were we when you guys? We were. I think we were under that.
Yeah, I want to say I would say around 20, but probably the under.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's funny, like those things seem so long ago, and it really isn't. Funny how YouTube time shows. You don't see it, but the plaque, Chad's got his plaque. We got plaques. Austin American Statesman. Nice job, Statesman. Hey,
Right,
volleyball
Statesman.
plaque, Chad, for the Austin American Statesman.
You know what? First we had the hot seat. Well, no, sorry. Hot seat is Bowles is now Houston Chronicle. Never mind. That's formerly
Yes.
Austin American Statesman. My bad. Yes, this is for the Statesman for getting a little extra info out in a February.
Hey, I don't always remember us doing shows where we're giving the Statesman credit for some news breaking. So, attaboy Austin American Statesman. In fact, attaboy David Eckert. Hope I'm saying that right. So there are, he put in the Freedom of Information Act or like whatever he put in the request. He has the details on staff members that haven't yet been discussed. There's been a lot of this guy's going to get a raise and Kyle Flood's getting a 1-year extension and includes a raise. And it's a little complicated, but it is technically a raise. And you got Johnny Nansen. And we've done this thing where slowly but surely we've seen these contract terms take place. Well, today was like a data dump. Statesman puts out terms for Chris Jackson, the wide receivers coach, AJ Milwee, the quarterbacks coach, Michael Biamonte, the assistant quarterbacks coach, Alan Clark, the edge coach, Mark Ofe, the cornerbacks coach, Kenny Baker, the defensive ends coach, and one more, general manager Brandon Harris. Now, I don't mean to bury the lead, but the Brandon Harris note from David Eckert of the Austin American Statesman. Oh, and they also mention, because I don't want to get off, we'll get off track once he also reports that Blake Gideon is going to basically average 825 over the course of the next 2 seasons. He's got a 2-year deal. And that the new running backs coach Jamar Jaluk will make 850 in 2027, but 325 this year. I have to believe that Florida is making up the difference there in some capacity. And so,
yeah, either way, next offseason's a good bit of news in the Jaluk house. My God.
Well, Jaluk isn't coming to Texas to make 320. He could have got money. He could have got a job somewhere else and made that much money. So I think the last number, the 850 in 2027, gives you a real idea of come hook or crook. That man's making 800 plus this year, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Otherwise, Jabbar, let me know. I can introduce you to some agents that could bridge you from you're worth 325 1 year and 850 the next. There's like a middle ground. I'm just saying.
It's a good year. Again, it's a good year. That's a good offseason.
They got to find out if you're worth a crap. So I think he's okay. So those were the main things, right? And I can get into some of the other details. I don't know that anybody needs me to go year by year with what Chris Jackson made now and what he's going to make. Most of these guys all got bumps.
Yeah.
Brandon Harris, from $600,000, he's in the million club now. And Volleyball clap for Brandon Harris. That's almost double.
No doubt.
That's almost double a raise. The general manager at Texas probably should be making $1 million a year. It is a massive undertaking. It is a massive job. And if you're going to put all of the expectations of what comes with being a general manager, which is just below Sarkisian, right? Like now
you're going to give him the love. You're going to give him the credit for certain things. Might need to give him the salary.
And at some point, Sarkisian may actually have to talk about him. If you make it, it feels like if you cross over into the $1 million threshold, your head coach has to discuss that person. That's a rule. I just made that up, but that's a new rule.
You did just make that up. I think Sark might want to extend that to a 1.5 rule. If he ever makes 1.5, maybe then he'll actually talk about it.
All right, well, then we're just going to ask you Kyle Flood questions all day, just so you know. You want Kyle Flood questions all day, Sark, or can we mix in a Brandon Harris question?
Yeah.
Chad, as an outside observer, I mean, you're an Aggie, and there's a lot of ways to take this conversation. I used the Chappelle show, "We're Rich, Bitch."
Yeah, right.
As like the tease on the thumbnail. Just this story means what to you?
To me, it's Texas being Texas, like I always talk about. But the next part is, now can you be Saban's Alabama? That should be the ultimate goal for Steve Sarkisian. Being Texas is all of this. People are going to make fun of you for it. Oh, they only got to this bowl or that. But this is what you do. You give guys raises. Your guys are getting paid a lot of money. Now, can you do what Saban did in Tuscaloosa and keep the edge on everything? Because catch the one thing that pisses Texas fans off about this kind of story is if it leads to complacency and it leads to perceived laziness, or it leads to perceived, dare I say, you know what I'm going to say, softness. If you go that way, it pisses Texas fans off. You and I have been covering this group for long enough to know. So the first thing I think of is it's what they should be doing, and now we just need to see, can you keep that edge about you in 26, 27, and however long Sark's here?
I'm kind of mostly, again, there's a lot of tentacles to this, and it can be talked about in a lot of different ways. Some of them, maybe even like 1% chance, but they're so provocative thinking that how can you not talk about the provocative thing, even if it's 1%? Mm-hmm. I think you've got the right take. Texas, this is what it looks like to take care of business. You hire really talented people. You pay them money at levels that keeps people away from trying to poach them. And to be quite honest, Brandon Harris at $600,000 a year felt like a guy that if they didn't take care of him, that somebody would. And so Texas is taking care of Brandon Harris. And I don't look at anything in this and think to myself, that's out of whack. That's crazy talk. That's crazy town. I don't even know that I completely thought that about Kyle Flood. The Kyle Flood conversation is just so nuanced, and nobody has time for that. It's either ooga ooga bad or ooga ooga good. And it's like, well, no, it's ooga ooga complicated. But who are you hiring that you're not paying $1.5 million a year for to feel good about, right? And how many of those guys are there? And it is not as easy as we just get rid of that guy and go bring in the next best badass guy. And it's like, okay, well, that guy costs a lot of money, and maybe he doesn't want to leave his school, or maybe he's in Oklahoma, or maybe, right? But at the end of the day, Texas, this to me is from 30,000 feet up. I look at all of these guys and I go, they're at the top of their peer group in college football for what they're getting paid. We've got now $1 million general manager. We've got $1 million linebackers coach. We've got $1 million offensive line coach. We've got guys making millions. Jeff Banks is the tight end special teams, Sark's right hand, left hand, all the hand kind of man. He gets over $1 million. Like, this program pays out $1 million to its assistant coaches. Like, that is the entryway into the program. And maybe it is. I mean, Blake Gideon just came back, and he is
right there.
He's a contract extension away. That is what that really is on Chad. Yeah. That is.
That's
in
big.
2 years from now, if and when we want to like bump you up and keep you again, you'll join the $1 million club from $850.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways, Catch, to sort of see this flex and talk about this flex. That may be the best example, though. Gideon coming back, hitting that number immediately. Woo, that one got my attention. That's Texas being Texas.
We're just not that far away from being in a place where, and it's not completely true. Like Alan Clark is only going to make $400,000 and $450,000 next year, so it's not like everybody on the staff is killing it. But and again, these numbers all per the Austin American Statesman. Really nice work, David Eckert. Again, volleyball clap for you. We appreciate you providing content for us today here at the top of the show. We'll orange bloodsify it now, but good work on the data. Biamonte is the assistant quarterbacks coach, and he's going to make $400,000, which is the same amount of money as Alan Clark, the edge coach. And the sense is that Alan Clark is if you ask fans of Texas recruiting, if you look at what he's asked to do with the edge players, Colin Simmons, one of his guys, I think Texas fans would be shocked to know that Alan Clark's at the bottom of the totem pole, because that's a guy that Texas fans legitimately worry about losing. So I would say this: keep an eye on Alan Clark and his little low $400,000 a year, as if he's slumming it. Somebody, whether it's Texas or somebody else, is going to change that dude's fortunes. But Texas really does put prices on the rest of these guys that, for the most part, say just stay away. Unless you're ready to pay unless you're ready to start making your defensive ends coach $1 million a year guy, and you don't pay that to your coordinator, or maybe that's exactly what you pay your coordinator. Texas does a real good job of like, hey, y'all, if y'all want some, come get some.
Yeah,
there are a couple of guys where that doesn't happen with, but it does to me, Chad, as someone, and I am not trying to be negative with this point, Chad. This is not, this is a neutral point.
Don't be negative.
This is not me like, I don't have actually any personal feelings on this, but I do believe that the Texas football team, the players, will be the most expensive collection of players in the sport this season.
Right.
I don't know what that number is. I know that last year it wasn't quite 40. Just to be safe and ballpark it, I had heard between 35 and 40. Nobody ever corrected me on that number.
Would you be shocked if you heard a 5-0?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, I don't know, Chet. I don't know how to even quantify it, because a couple of years ago, and even into a year ago, guys were being talked about like $750,000 was the threshold that couldn't be broken. And, like guys like Brandon Baker showed up, and they're now behind the times, right? When it's like Brandon Baker didn't quite get $1 million in his first year, but he was not playing as a true freshman, making that kind of close to bank, high six figures. And the price of business just keeps going up. And then you get a guy like Cam Coleman. I mean, it has to be at least 2. Has to be.
Yeah.
It feels like that was the entry level of that conversation. And I don't know that we ever got to a bidding war. So what did Texas have to offer Cam Coleman to keep that thing from turning into a bidding war?
The Aggies and the Longhorns behind the scenes could probably let us know that one.
I just feel like if 2 ended up being the number, there's somebody at A&M right now upset at somebody. Like,
what did I tell you? Don't stop at 1.9. That's what I told you. You didn't listen to me.
How do we let 2 turn into some deal breaker for us, right? So you're talking about there's just a group of players. I don't even know how to quantify how to do the math. So I know that it's more than it was a year ago. How much more is hard to say. I do believe Texas will have the most expensive roster in college football, right? So And I do believe, I don't know when, but that story from The Athletic or Sports Illustrated or somebody somewhere, that story's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things I'm trying to prepare Texas fans who watch this show, again, this is not me giving an opinion about, I don't know, the pros and cons of that existence. I'm laying it out what I'm expecting to happen. That's going to be a big part of the narrative of this Texas football team. Every time the nation watches Texas football this season, I believe, and if I'm wrong, look, Chad knows me. I will do a show and I'll go, man, remember 9 months ago when I said this? Boy, I'll make a big thing out of making fun of myself. But is the whole country just going to sit quietly and not discuss the fact that Texas is doing what Texas is doing this offseason? At some point, it's going to be the story. And that story is going to take shape and become the narrative of this team. The most expensive team in the history of college football. Mm-hmm. That seems unfair because next year there will probably be a team that surpasses whatever Texas does this year.
Yeah.
But that will be a tag that Texas gets hit with at some point. People will go, wait a minute. They're the most expensive team this year. That pretty much has to make them the most expensive team in history. That is technically, I mean, it's a 3-year history. It's like,
right.
It's like calling someone like, the greatest of all time in this sport's 3 years old. Like what we did with Ronda Rousey. And is she going to do that, by the way? Is that happening?
That was really interesting. Is she going to do what? I haven't heard.
She's supposed to be coming back.
Oh, good.
I don't know
UFC?
if I just got like old man Facebooked. You know what I mean? Like I heard.
I have not heard that.
A rumor.
Haven't heard it. I hope it's true, but I have not heard it. It's too late, but I hope. Sure.
Like I did not read that at The Athletic.
Okay. Beautiful.
So I don't know.
I hope so.
I don't know if like somebody important, but I think it's him and Carano or her and Carano.
Oh, good Lord. That'd be a wild fight. Look,
that's what makes me think it's not real. And like somebody on Facebook did some stuff and like my uncle posted it on a website and here we are. So I was just.
As long as they're alive, Catch, I'm going to hope that Rousey and Brock Lesnar come back to the UFC at some point. I think that's where they belong, but I'm not holding my breath either way.
Okay, so just to finish my point on where we're at, and then we can just do anything we want to do. Pay some bills, because it's about that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
All of this, we just got done talking a week ago about, pretty sure Will Muschamp's the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country.
Got to be 2.8. Is that what we said, right?
Yeah. And now they've got a tight ends coach, an offensive line coach. I guess that's a linebackers coach. They got 3 others on the staff that are well north of $1 million. They've got a couple of other assistant coaches they're going to have the most expensive staff in the country. I'm just setting the stage that when I saw this story earlier today, it was another hammer on the nail of what I think this season is going to partly be about. Is the nation has always wanted to paint Texas as a villain. And Texas has always done they can't control that people don't like them. They can't really control that nobody likes them. But they've always done a really good job of trying to not overflex as best as possible. Everything about this season is a massive overflex. It is genuinely the first time, as somebody who's covered Texas football since the mid-90s, when I started my beat inside the hallways of Belmont working in the Texas Sports Information Office, I've seen everything. I've never seen Texas do what it's doing right now, which is simply to say there is no cost that we won't pay to have what we want to win a national championship. And I'm fascinated to see how they publicly react once Darth Vader finally started to do Darth Vader things, How will they either embrace that or push back against it? All of their actions say, we don't really give a damn what any of you people say. Like, you guys told us this was the game. This is the game. Now we're going to play the game. But they're playing it full tilt. They're playing it. They're inventing rules that other people aren't doing either. What did we just see them do in the portal? They kind of collected players like in a different way than other people did. They spent more money than anybody else did. And I think I'm kind of excited, Chad, to see how I kind of am okay with seeing a Texas Longhorn team in 2026 with Arch Manning as their quarterback, where Arch wears the black cowboy hat. That, we're just going to hear that Texas is everything that's wrong with college sports once next season starts. And as you know, as a wrestling fan, and we've had this conversation about the UFC, nothing's better than a villain who you can hate, but who's also really, really, really good. What made Flair so awesome was that he was such a performer, but then he always had the belt. It just always felt like that guy doesn't lose. Man, Texas football will be a lot of fun as the villain if they can be as good as the money they're spending and the talent they've accumulated.
If you guys want to jump in the chat, feel free. Get us a super chat. It'll go right to the top of the list. I grabbed a couple of chats I want to get in a second. We are definitely excited to continue this conversation. Speaking of excited, I'm excited because I'm headed to Taste on Main on Saturday for that incredible brunch. Here's the picture I'm throwing up because this might end up being my plate again. 2 of these 3 things are going to happen. Those Brussels sprouts are going to happen because they're my favorite. That drink, the Sam Elliott's mustache, is going to happen because I'm feeling like a whiskey drink. And the burger might happen too with the egg. I'm just telling you, that's where my brunch may end up. Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to 3. This Saturday is actually the anniversary of the day my wife and I met. So we're going to go celebrate. We're inviting my daughter. My daughter's at Texas State. Perfect spot to meet up. And my daughter has never had the brunch at Taste on Main, but she's pumped about trying some new things there too. So we are excited, and you will be too. Get down there. It's free parking right across from Taste on Main. You're in beautiful Buda, downtown. Walk around, hit some antique shops. The weather's great right now. Be sure to tell them you heard about it on OB Live. Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to 3 on that incredible brunch at Taste on Main. I cannot wait. We had a couple of good, real quick, just to clarify, Brian jumped in and said Jim Knowles is the highest paid at 3.1 on the DC. Brian, I read something last week that said he actually got a little hit in the salary when he went to Tennessee. He's
making a million less at Tennessee than he did in 2025 with the Nittany Lions. So Muschamp's total in 2025 we believe, have been second best. But
this next year, we think it's a little more.
No, Knowles is going to make $2 million in 2026. This is per a Vol Sport Go Vols 24/7 report back in December when the move was announced. Okay. $2 million in 2026, 2.2 in 2027, 2.4 in 2028.
Gotcha.
So no, used to be,
not anymore. Yeah, not anymore. All right, so Catch, here's what I was thinking as you were talking about this whole process with Texas and how they're going to be perceived. A couple of years ago when Ohio State did this, we talked about it. You reported on it. We hit it a lot that they were not going to be outbid for certain guys, and they were going to stack that roster. And what happened? They went and won it all, right? In 2024, That would have been the 2024 season. How do you remember the nation reacting? Do you feel like the nation was talking about how much money Ohio State spent?
It did, but it was still at the infancy of what is, you know what I mean? That was before everybody could spend money.
Yeah.
And so.
Right. It was there, but maybe not to the degree it's about to be.
Well, and that's the thing. So they did. And then I think what happens a year ago, Indiana kind of interrupts. I think there will be a segment of college football fans that will feel like we've never done this before. Like over focus on Are we going to get to a point where at the end of the year we know who the top 10 most highest spending teams are?
Yeah.
Well, we talked about to a point where we just know, and then we can do a conversation where it's like OU's NIL spend was 35 million, Texas's was 55 million. What are the implications? You know what I mean? Like it all happens in such secrecy.
Yeah. Is it going to be baseball, basketball, pro sports where we know that going in? Oh my God, the Dodgers are playing the, Royals in the World Series. Here's their salary, payroll, and here's their payroll, like those kind of things. We know all that stuff in the pros. That's what it's feeling like now.
Yeah. So we're headed that way. I just think this is going to be a year where the Texas offense won't be able to play without Cam Coleman being a talked about part of every television broadcast, every pregame show. There can't almost be a running back conversation in any game or any pregame show, whether it's any of the top three guys, that doesn't talk about the lengths that Texas went to secure the services of all three players. You can't tell the Hollywood Smothers story without including the part where Texas took him away from Alabama while he was on campus.
Yep.
Like everybody, we just need to prepare ourselves for if he's any good at all this year, that's going to get brought up every time.
Yeah. Well, and that's why here's
I'm not done, because you got Raleek Brown. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy that it's going to be looked at like, okay, well, Texas decided they were going to do whatever it took to get a running back. The whole spin to do what they had to do. And then when they talk about Derek Cooper, it's going to be talked about that as a high school prospect, Texas offered significantly more money for Derek Cooper than anybody else that was recruiting him. It's impossible to tell the story of Derek Cooper's recruitment without including that really important nugget. And it's going to be impossible to have a conversation about any of these players without talking about how they were acquired, and that they all, just those four players alone, collectively, I think it's the conversation that's going to take place. And I don't think it's a bad, look, I'll tell you what, I think deep down Texas gets its rocks off on the notion that their rep will grow and that you want to get paid the most, go to Texas. You want to make sure you get paid, that there's no funny games. Who's the most professional and serious, like, business side in college football? Probably Texas. They're still not – they may live in the gray, but they're not living in areas like they're still the university that will take every step to make sure that they're doing things by the books. And I think privately that's what they want. I think even in recruiting now, I think we look at a guy like Kennedy Brown, Chad, and the Aggies have been working so hard for that guy. And like Oregon and the usual suspects of teams that we know you're going to have to battle. And Texas has been watching the Kennedy Brown recruitment. They know that Kyle Flood has not been working as hard as Texas A&M. They know that as much as Steve Sarkisian recently went by that high school, that Mike Elko goes by there all the time. A&M trying to throw the kitchen sink at the state's best offensive lineman, at least in terms of current national rankings. We can quibble over Ishmael Kamara or not, but as of right now, he's the number 4 overall player in the country. And Texas just seems to be like, their attitude about everybody right now seems to be, hey man, just watch us when it's money time.
Yeah. I
bet we'll be in the discussion then.
Yeah. That's what it needs to be. I'm focused on one thing, Catch, how Sark deals with it publicly if he gets called out. Because over the last few years, 2 big coaches got called out. First, it was Jimbo. I would argue he handled it wrong. Then it was Kirby. And I thought Kirby handled it brilliantly. How Sark handles that, let's say they rip Texas State a new one. And maybe it's GJ Kenny, maybe it's somebody whoever, somebody mouths off and says something like this, right? Somebody just threw in our chat. Tej says Texas is NFL University. If somebody dares to say, well, Sark bought that whole team, that kind of a line, whatever it is, just like Saban tried to give to Jimbo, Jimbo didn't know how to handle it. How does Sark handle that? Is he ready to go out in public and say, hey, we got one of the best opportunities out there. Kids, give me a call. Like, is he ready to, like you said, is he ready to fully embrace, fully go Darth Vader, fully go Ric Flair, fully go whatever you want to talk about? For Terminator fans, Skynet became fully aware on what date? September 5th, 2026? That's where we're headed if Sark just leans in and says, yeah, so, and it deals with it like Kirby did instead of flipping out and going old school like Jimbo did.
I don't have a great answer for that. There are times I don't mean to change the show, but no, I will if I say the thing that I'm about to say. I would just say that I do think like anybody, by the way, I do think maybe my lawn people just showed up. It might get dog 30 here.
Okay.
Based on the fact that my blinds are closed, but it's loud.
Okay.
And my dog gave a Arf! Just one, but
the preemptive strike. You let me know if we need to pay a bill or something.
I tell you what, pay a bill and let me just see what I'm dealing with.
All right,
and then I'll be back, and at the very least, I'll have the dogs put away.
Let's hear from AV Consultations. Look, kids, Harrison Ford, Blue Street.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been providing custom electronic systems for Central Texas for more than 36 years. And
old man, I think they all know who you are and what your company does. This is Camilla McKay. The old man believes in big fun and big ideas. He can make dreams come true, so why not dream big? I've been up in Boston, but I know the old man and all his friends and fellow radio heads have been spreading the holiday spirit here in Texas. Why should we stop there? Keep spreading the good feelings all over. Audiovisual Consultations carries all major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And you don't have to leave your house. Just like Santa, they deliver the gifts to you.
Yeah, I like that, kid. Throw a party, hang out with your friends, catch a concert.
That's all fun and good, but can we get back to the business? You can give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit our website at avconsultations.com for some cool electronics.
Oh, now you're forgetting something.
And as always, hug your kids. We only pretend to be annoyed. Watch some games with your friends and make love to whoever the hell you want.
The other day, Jason Sukamel saw the Steelers-Bengals game in the AV Consultation spot. I'm a Bucks fan as well as a Cowboys fan. I just noticed the Baker Mayfield. Did you see Baker? He was in there too. Shout out to AV Consultations. All right, Catch is checking on the dogs in case you missed that part of the story. We got some chats coming in. If y'all want to throw us some super chats, you can certainly do that. We'll give Specs and Texas Card House some love here in just a second. Are we good, Catch? Is everything clear?
I mean, the trash people showed up at the same time. It's a lot happening.
Clear-ish. Okay. So
I think we're okay.
Okay. And you were about to completely change the show? Is that what was about to happen?
Well, no, I said I wasn't. I just no. It felt like,
because I do have a chat that wants to discuss the Arizona State cancellation, and I know you said you wanted to talk about that. But hey,
I just think when we talk about how I think Sark hasn't even addressed the change in portal yet.
No.
He's not said. Last time we had this conversation, I kind of poo-pooed that, but now I feel differently. Here's why. So there's a lot of, I don't know. But at some point he should. At some point, it's okay to say, this is college football, people.
Yeah, I love this chat. This way to say it. Don't understand why you can't do both. Yeah, we're the Joneses with the money, but once here, we build culture. Deborah, I agree. You can make all the arguments you want, but to me, if you're Texas, Don't be afraid to make that argument.
You just say, look, nobody was complaining 5 years ago when Alabama's roster was half 5 stars, and you still have to coach them up.
That's a good way
You still have to do a job as a coaching staff that puts them in a position to beat other incredibly well-coached teams. And it doesn't mean we stop doing anything that we do. It's just the price of doing business. And I think that you see this a lot, I think, in non-American sports, because those players go for big contracts, but they get also bought for big contracts. So it's really different, right? So in addition to just being the highest paid player somewhere, you have to carry around these tags. It's like they spent $100 million to get you, not to pay for your contract. Just, they don't do trades. They do, I buy your crap. And so then that player has to play, and he's like, oh, he was purchased for $100 million. And eventually the players are just like, look, man, I just can't control that. All I can control is like what I can control. And that's kind of, for me, that's the way Sark needs to approach it. He's like, look, it's not my fault.
Right.
The market for a Cam Coleman, in order to have him on your team, is incredibly high.
You know what he needs to lean in on, Catch? Just throw a baseball analogy out. The Dodgers don't win it every year. The Yankees.
And there's no guarantee that they will either. And what Yankees he has to know is that the pressure that will come with losing at Texas when Texas is doing all of this,
right,
is a little bit different. Texas has historically leaned into we're not number one in terms of the highest costs. We're just below that. So if anybody wants to get mad at anybody, they get mad at the team that's number one.
Right.
We're just number 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a weird. Okay, thank you for the super chat here. $5 from Wise Guy. Did Texas missing the CFP cause this turn to the dark side? Do they do the same if they make it?
You know, Wise Guy, that is a great question.
Yeah, it's a good way to phrase it. Because they didn't do enough, in certain. We could argue they didn't Darth Vader it enough, right? They didn't lean in enough in that portal last year. Maybe they just decided, okay, F it, let's go.
Wise Guy, I think one of the things that would probably need to be answered is what happened in the CFP once they got there. To their credit, what I would say, and I think this is the biggest point that can be made. I was reporting I'd have to go back and look how early this was, but it was October where I was saying they're going to sign 6 to 8 bad mama jammas, and they'll claim our first 8 in recruiting is better than anybody else in the country's first 8. And we don't really care about the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go to the portal, money won't be an option. Well, what does that mean? It means if we feel like we need something or need somebody, we'll have the money, whatever that is.
Yeah, it means we can't make a Michigan offensive lineman say yes, but money will not be the reason he says no.
Correct. Right. And so what happened from the moment that those reports first started kind of funneling out? At the time, it was kind of hard to know, well, what does that mean? That there won't be a player they can't get because of money. What happens if they sign a bunch of really – you can just keep talking yourself into – surely there's a way where they have to stop spending money. And the line was, whatever we need, we'll have. And that is not even remotely close to what had been said in previous off seasons. Right. It's so far away from what had been said in previous off seasons that it's just a completely different,
that's huge.
I almost need to check I need to make sure that my sources and people running the program and stuff aren't aliens, because this is not what it was.
Yeah, no, Catch, I was shocked a couple of years ago when that was what you were telling us. Your sources were saying. I always assumed that what you're hearing now, that what you just said, we won't be outbid, we'll be fine. Well, that's where I thought Texas was going to be in the NIL world the whole time. That was my assumption. They'll be able to swing as hard as they want to swing.
We are 3 or 4 seasons a row away.
Okay.
I said ago. I said in a row, but I meant 3 or 4 seasons ago.
I was like, what does a row mean?
Just go Bluto sometimes. You just got to go with it.
We got to go.
I was talking to an incredibly dialed in source, one of my best sources, the kind of source that, I don't know, you take everything to the bank, but anytime they say something, it's definitely file that away.
Yeah.
We were having a conversation about Georgia, and this person told me, you know, from Georgia, there was an intimidation standpoint about how far willing Georgia was willing to go to pay kids than Texas. And this source told me, you know, you're probably just not going to see a lot of recruitments that truly involve Georgia and Texas, because we just don't really have a taste for that. You know what I mean? Like what they do, it's probably what a lot of people say about Texas now. That it won't ever really be Texas and us, because we won't ever do what Texas is willing to do to make sure that they win. So I remember people that are on Orange Bloods will know, like, I spread that word. I was like, look, in the future, if you hear that George is in on a kid and that might be the leader, that's probably a sign that Texas is not going to be serious, like truly involved with that kid. And it felt like that lasted about 6 months. And then I think within 12 months, Texas went into Georgia and money whipped Justice Terry and dared Georgia. We dare you. Pay more money. Do it. Dude,
right at the end of the cycle,
your other 5-star defensive tackles now the money we're going to pay Justice Terry.
Yeah, and just like, correct me if I'm wrong, just like the Derek Cooper thing, wasn't it right at the end of the cycle it happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason Sukamel did an interview with Derek Cooper in Indianapolis or Chicago or wherever the hell they were last year for the Rivals camp. And Derek Cooper gave out a top 5. And Sukamel asked him in person, yo, no Texas. Yeah, no Texas. They're not in my top 5. 2 weeks later, Texas was his leader. And the only thing that had changed was that Xavier Crowell had committed to Alabama.
Right.
And Texas was like, oh, crap, KJ Edwards is at A&M? Crowell just went with Alabama? We got to get a difference maker. And then they just turned their eye towards Derek Cooper, and everything changed.
Yeah.
So, and they no longer you no longer hear that thing where it's like if Texas and Georgia are involved with somebody. That used to mean something different than it does today. 4 years ago, it meant Texas was afraid. 4 years later, it feels like even Georgia kind of knows, oh, don't go messing with Texas on money, on a guy that it doesn't go well. They figured out their strategy, and their strategy is YOLO. And that is the part that I think all fans of college athletics should have been worried about. Will there ever be a day when the University of Texas truly goes YOLO with money with regards to operating their programs? I don't know if this is it, but it's got to be close. It has got to be like scratching or knocking on the door of what it looks like to just, we're going to do more than everybody else, and I don't really care anymore that anybody knows about it.
Yeah, if this isn't it, Catch, make sure you let us know when a source tells you, Catch, you ain't seen nothing yet. Then we'll really know something's like, whoa, what's coming now? What's the next step if this isn't it? If you guys want to throw in a super chat, you can do that. Let's give Specs some love. They bring you the chats and the super chats. Here's Lisa.
At Specs, it doesn't cost a lot to turn a good time into a great time. From connoisseur collectors to aficionados of ale, you'll find bubbly bliss at any budget. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Also, remember that wine sale goes to the end of February at Specs. If you need to head out to get your drinks that way, if you need to go get your drinks in the beautiful outdoors, maybe you head to Dripping Springs, one of our favorite places, the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Look at those beautiful scenes. Just have some of that good vodka. Have some of that great barbecue that they have at the Crimson Creek Smokehouse barbecue truck right there on site. And just look at those beautiful scenic views out there in Dripping Springs. Wednesdays through Sundays, make your plans to get out to the Deep Betty Vodka Tasting Room, and be sure to tell them that you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. All right, Catch. Arizona State time?
Well, there's not a whole lot that I want to say about that other than they're telling us with the cancellation of the Arizona State series that the risk isn't worth the reward. And it's common sense. And until the rules change and allow for a system that would embrace the risk more than the one that does, it's the smart intellectual play.
So real quick to this chat, is Notre Dame next? Does this tell you that the Notre Dame thing will happen for 28 and 29 and they're going to scratch that off too?
It tells you that they're acknowledging that the best thing to do is to make a decision football related. And that's why, but this does not come from the Texas side of things yet. Mm-hmm. All this is really mostly come from the Arizona State side of things. So I don't know that. And I think part of that is because Arizona State already has a replacement lined up.
Yeah, they grabbed Stanford. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah. So they basically are like, fuck Texas.
Like, called an old friend. They called an old buddy.
We're like, we're cool, but like, we're not going to say anything because it makes you guys uncomfortable. Because it does lead to some obvious questions. It's just obvious intellectually that the smart thing to do is to cancel these series. Everybody is doing it. When it doesn't happen, either for Notre Dame or Ohio State, what they're telling you is we're not making a decision today based on what we think is the best football decision-making interest. And that's just going to have to be okay. Or they're going to have to defend why that decision was made on some level. If it's about money, maybe you got to say it's about money. But intellectually, they're conceding these games should not be played. And the only bad thing about Texas is with Arizona State being canceled first, it makes everything else seem very obvious. It's like, well, Arizona State's only kind of dangerous. How the hell am I supposed to feel about a Notre Dame or an Ohio State that's really, really dangerous?
Right. That was going to be my next question for you is would you have thought Arizona State qualified as one of these teams? I'm thinking Ohio State or Michigan or Notre Dame or whatever.
It tells you they all qualify.
But would you put Arizona State in the category? I mean, yeah, they were in the playoff a couple years ago. They're in the Big 12, but Texas has to schedule a Power 4. Are they really going to start putting the standard at who they're going to call at a line below Arizona State?
The Arizona State that was in the playoffs 2 years ago and is on any given year with the coaching staff that they have and the recruiting that they're doing, they're a dangerous team. I wouldn't play them either.
All right, so let's go Big 12 real quick. Would you play Tech, BYU, or Arizona State?
Fuck no.
Okay. Would you play Oklahoma State?
No.
Wow. Okay. And would you play any of the Texas teams? Baylor, TCU, Tech?
I'll play Baylor.
Okay, because I think there's an argument for a no there. But
there is. I'm just, at some point, there's got to be a yes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find Kansas and Kansas State. I'm assuming you're going to get phone calls, and maybe Purdue and Northwestern in the Big Ten. And
I'll call Iowa State. They're going to be terrible.
Dude, do you realize Maryland and Rutgers are going to have to install new phones for all the SEC teams that are going to be calling them? It's going to be out of control. I was a little surprised though to see that they went with the Arizona State move. The Aggies are about to play Arizona State home and home. Starting this year.
That's why this story coming out first. If it just waits, it allows you to deal with Notre Dame and Ohio State without a lot of pressure. You've given the gig up.
Yeah. Well, they don't have
this tells us you agree with us.
Right.
These games, you agree with us so much that maybe even a fringe home and home for some people, they've now acknowledged fringe isn't worth the risk. But you still have something other than fringes on the board. And look, what do we know Del Conte's answer is right now? He kind of just wants a piece of them. Oh, right. I guess you didn't want a piece of Arizona State.
Not it right there, but that reference was about those two home games. He says he's not touching the 2 home games, Ohio State and Michigan.
The rules just, you know what, though? That is one of these nods to trying to change the discussion, and it doesn't change it for me at all. It still comes down to, Chris, let's talk risk versus reward from that game. Do you win a trophy in that game? Is there a trophy? Does anybody on your staff get a raise because they win that game?
Well,
are you automatically in the college football? Are you automatically in anything because you win that game?
It is Texas. Somebody will get a raise for beating that team. Somebody will get a raise for beating Ohio State.
In there. Yeah. There were probably Ohio State and Georgia bonuses and built into these contracts now.
Catch these agents aren't stupid. Somebody will get money for that.
Muschamp's got a Georgia game clause. Has to.
Of course.
Maybe even a South Carolina clause as well. Like, hey, if the Gamecocks.
Correct. Yeah, it's all in there. That's in there.
You know, like, the thing is, and this is disappointing, and this is going to be one of these things where I'm going to give Del Conte a little bit of criticism. And then whenever anybody, the media around here, the shows that cover Texas football, everything, they all get on their knees and kiss so much butt all the time that any criticism of anybody it's like suggested that you hate the person. All right. So I want to clarify from the very beginning. I don't hate Chris Del Conte. I actually think he's the perfect athletic director for the University of Texas. And while I have a stream of itty bitty little nitpicks that I think he could do a better job at or have done a better job at, as an athletic director at Texas, I give him an A+. I don't hate the man. There are things, though, that I think he could do a better job of. And I think this discussion falls under one of them. Be honest with us, Chris. When asked about Ohio State and playing that game, acknowledge the risk. Tell us why. And don't say, because I want a piece of them in Austin. That's not good enough. That is not how schools are winning national championships, and you're better than that. I'm okay. If I'm Texas, Chris Del Conte is the smoothest talking, thinking person in a room. He does feel like a guy that can shake your hand, charm you, and steal your wallet. And that's who I want him to be. What I don't want him to be is the guy that walks in and then tries to pretend to everybody that he's the toughest guy in the room. I don't want that for him. I don't want Rocky trying to be a serious actor. Go make Rocky 19. Yeah. And with Del Conte, his explanation for why this, just intellectualize. We're all fairly smart people. If it's about the money, then goddamn, it's about the money. But you know what? Chad and I intellectually can do a conversation where we say, well, they told us it's about the money. And we can argue about whether or not the money is so valuable that you might potentially risk what's at stake. But at least that's a fair conversation. They're not allowing us to have a fair conversation about this because they won't talk about this in a transparent way when it feels like exactly the kind of new age 2026 conversation that you should be having with your fan base that lets them know, hey, we don't like this, man.
Yeah. So
I don't think they should cancel Ohio State. I think they should postpone Ohio State. I would have been an advocate for postponing Arizona State. And as part of our release, I would say those games will be rescheduled.
Yeah, that's a point maybe we didn't make earlier. They were just axed, right?
Yes.
They got rid of it. It's a straight cancel. They're not rescheduling. So at this point, you kind of went to my next question. So
Ohio State owes you a home game. It would benefit both teams to just kick that down a couple of years and put in the language. We can't wait to host Ohio State.
So you want to push it. You want to push it to wait for an expanded playoff. That's what you're thinking.
Or a climate that encourages matchups like these and doesn't punish the loser. And at that point, you throw it on the sport and say, this isn't our fault.
Yeah.
This is those shit houses at the NCAA, the ones that keep losing every court case they're involved in, they're the ones that have caused us. We want to play the game. We want to play the game. And they won't let us play the game without punishing us. And they tell us, we won't punish you. They said, play the game. If it's a close game, it almost counts like a loss. Well, we played the defending national champions at home, first game of the season, played them within a touchdown. And at the end of the season, you know what the committee did to us? Put us behind teams that we beat.
Yeah, that committee, considering the rest of the schedule. How dare they?
So,
and you knew,
summation,
you knew it was going to happen.
College football's governing body and the committee, because they can get some too, kiss our ass. To the fans out there, to our players, to their families. Really? To all the fans of college football, you guys deserve better than to exist and be fans in a sport where matches like this have to be postponed for competitive reasons because the jackass powers that be can't figure out how to get two good teams to play without potentially throttling the entire season for the loser. We will be back with tougher games. We are not doing away with this game. But we might have to do away with the system at some point, and maybe a governing body that can't figure out a system that allows the great Buckeyes of Ohio to play the great Longhorns of Texas for fun, because that's what this sport's supposed to be about. And by God, they've changed the rules, and now we can't have fun anymore. And screw them.
Wow. Somebody get me a 16-team playoff stat, please. Good Lord. Assuming that this after this happens, I would assume the Notre Dame thing is coming. If it's not, then I really don't get what CDC is doing. And Catch, like I said yesterday on the Modcast, Alabama and Georgia have games to get rid of too, and they need to be on the phone immediately, calling Ohio State and Notre Dame and scrapping what they've got, because both of them are about to face the same kind of deal. It needs to happen.
We just can't pretend that we don't live in a political landscape where
No, that was
all
good.
Texas would need to do is just out and message. Start getting messages out on Facebook where they're like moms at home and they're like,
see, the only step that I disagree with you on is the postpone over cancel. You need to make the sport feel it. I'd cancel everything. I wouldn't say it's going to be played. You can always reschedule. You can reschedule at the drop of a hat. I would say, nope, we're done. College football's sent the message, and we've got the message clearly. We're not playing Ohio State.
See, and then I'm saying postponed because I want to give hope.
Oh, no, I take it.
I know what you want to do.
Take it.
I am the University of Texas, and I can't truly be hated.
Now we're back. See, now we're back to Sark and how he'll answer that question. Hey, so Sark.
That was a little bastardized Jeff Ketchum version of that, Chad. But the Texas version is a little watered down. They don't lay on the crocodile tears quite as much.
Yeah. In fact, this one, Catch, we've been talking about the money side. The schedule side, I wonder how Sark will deal with it when he gets asked about canceling Arizona State and what happens if they do cancel Notre Dame. How's Sark going to answer that one? Because we know how CDC talks about it. How will Sark talk about it?
How about this? Hey, Coach, two-part question here. Either A, could you comment on the cancellation of Arizona State, your thoughts on it and the Notre Dame series and kind of what goes into making those decisions and why you would cancel one and not the other? And the other is your general manager, Brandon Harris. Choose one of those two topics and go.
Your choice. You're going to give, hey, Sark, choose your own adventure press conference. Here we go. That's what Terry should do. Terry should present the choose your own adventure press conference. Terry, if you're watching, that's your new thing, brother. That's the new thing. Reference in some old musical reference. Talk about the first Seals and Croft record, and then Loggins and Messina, and then give him the choose your adventure. That's what he needs to do. Your choice, Sark. That would be awesome.
All right, Chad, I gotta go.
Oh, all right, man. I got a couple more bills to pay. You got to run right now?
I really do, yeah.
All right, you get out. I'll pay a bill. I'll thank Texas Card House, and then I'll close up. That is Jeff Ketchum talking scheduling, rescheduling, unscheduling, and all that good stuff. Before we get out of here, let me hit you with a little sinus and snoring specialist. If you are getting hit with all the allergies, all the sinus stuff, my wife just had a little bout with some sinus stuff, but she got her sinus issues taken care of a couple years ago in terms of snoring, the sleep apnea, some of the sinus stuff she was dealing with, the allergy stuff. We both got it taken care of at the same place, but in different ways. That's the key to sinus and snoring specialists. They've got surgical and non-surgical options that other places just don't have. Check them out, 601-0303, or go to sinussnoringent.com. And tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. I do appreciate that. It does help things out, certainly. And thanks to Sinus and Snoring Specialists for being a big part of things. Let me just scan the chat real quick and make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Money B did clarify. Yes, ain't no postpone. It's canceled. Yes, Money B, you're right. What Ketch is saying is he would have postponed Ohio State this year, Michigan next year. He would have done it all. Notre Dame coming up. He would have said we're going to move it until the sport feels better to us to have these games. However that, would be reacted to. What's going to surprise me is if they make this move on Arizona State and then don't do the Notre Dame thing. The Notre Dame call's got to be right after that. If you're Arizona State, I'm not trying to dog the Sun Devils out. I know they went to the playoffs a couple years ago. Obviously, Texas played them and took them out in a really close game. But Arizona State, I get there's certain teams. I've preached about it all week. Certain teams shouldn't be used by others. I've stated it clearly this week. OrangeBloods.com, my 2%er post. Texas, Bama, Georgia, get on the phone because you're being used by certain teams. But Arizona State's not one of them in my mind. They're not. Now, I may regret what I'm about to say, but as an A&M fan, I'm not terrified of playing Arizona State. I'm actually kind of pumped about it. I dig Arizona State. I've always liked the helmet, the gear. Shout out Darren Woodson. Shout out Danny White. Little Pat Tillman. I dig Arizona State. Always root for them against Arizona. And I think it's going to be cool to watch A&M and Arizona State get it on. Can A&M lose? Of course. But it's not a game I would say, oh, my God, why did you schedule Arizona State? It's interesting that Texas looked that far ahead and just said, that's it. Axe those games. We'll get rid of them. That one surprised me a little bit. Rex says the PR hit if CDC had wanted to postpone those games would be massive. Probably. But, Ketch laid it out for you. You could frame it that way and say, look, we'd like an expanded playoff. We don't want to get punished because Texas can make that argument. I could make a different one for them, a totally different one. They could say, Chad, we didn't get in the playoff because we lost to Ohio State. I could make a completely different argument as to why they didn't get into the playoff that involves the Florida game, the Kentucky game, the Mississippi State game, and just what that resume looked like. Was it just that you were 9-3, or was it what the 9-3 looked like? But either way, if you want to argue that, you could do it that way and just say you're going to push it down the line. But like I said, I would cancel. I would make college football feel it. I'd make the CFP people feel it. I'd make the playoff committee decide, okay, we got to expand. This December, moving forward, if y'all don't know, I think it's December 1st of every year is when their new deadline is each year for if we're going to expand. Hopefully you can scare them into it a little bit, get them to push out to 16. I hope they don't go 24, but hey, more is better than not enough. If it has to go to 24 eventually to figure all this out, fine. I love the idea of Texas playing Ohio State or whatever. But the key element is I need you guys, the Texas fans, to love it, to want it. And I think all the pressure we're talking about today, the money, the salaries, NIL, I think it's all pushing towards a pressure point on September 12th. And I think if Ohio State gets a 10-0 lead early, I think DKR might murmur itself to death. I think DKR might rabble itself into like an implosion. everybody's going to freak out so much. Oh my God, we shouldn't have played the game. We lost. Now we can't lose 2 more. What if we lose another one? Then we couldn't lose. What if we lose at LSU? That means we can't lose another one all season long. And it's just going to feed on itself. So that's where I think a lot of this stuff is headed, but we will see. Sailor Joe says the CFP format will judge if Notre Dame is gone and Notre Dame is closer than Arizona State. Yeah, that's what I couldn't understand. Why wouldn't you? Maybe you wait another year. I guess you could do that. You could do it that way. You could do it that way, I guess. Wait till next season, see what happens in December, and then the Notre Dame thing. Texas does have an extra year. Notre Dame's not till 28. So you could wait and then don't get rid of it and say, oh, yeah, no, remember, we're going to play Notre Dame if you want to. All right, before I close it up, let's also give Hijack Poker and Texas Card House their love. They are our presenting sponsor, and if you're in the great state of Texas, you can play online poker whenever you want. Get that QR code, scan it, put it on any device you want, and get to playing. $20 bonus when you get signed up with hijackpoker.com. Also, remember those 6 great locations: Austin, Dallas, Las Colinas, Rio Grande Valley, Houston, and the location that Catch hits in spring. 1 month of free club membership, 2 hours of free poker play when you mention Orange Bloods at check-in. Thanks to Texas Card House. You see that logo right up at the top each and every day, along with the Specs Rabbit. They present the 12 o'clock show each and every day. Thank you guys for jumping in today. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. I agree with this one from Sailor Joe. It is too far out. Yeah. Too far out to anticipate the impact, whatever the format will be. And you know what, Sailor Joe? You could reschedule that. Wouldn't have to be for that year, but you could reschedule Arizona State if you want. The interesting part now is going to be to watch. Let's say we stay at 12. How are these power teams going to schedule the SEC? Because I'll be honest, I can't remember if anybody else has dictated that they have to play a power team, but the SEC does. So we'll just leave it there. How will Texas and Bama and Georgia and the rest figure out what's the acceptable version of a Power 4? Are we just going to see a line get drawn in the middle of a conference and below? And if everybody that finished below a certain line gets called, right? Purdue gets called. Northwestern gets called. Bad, who was bad in the Big Ten? Call them up. Call the bottom of the conference. That may be, ultimately where we're headed. Thank you guys for jumping in today. Thank you for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications. Like we said, 225,000 subscribers plus, and it keeps on counting up. We appreciate you for that. Remember to check out the video section. The Recruiting Insider hit today at 10 a.m. That hits at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. This week, we'll do a special Outsiders that'll hit tomorrow at 10 a.m. We were unable to record earlier in the week because our man Chance Mock had some business to take care of. But we're going to jump in. We're going to talk Arch Manning this week on the Outsiders. Check us out tomorrow, Thursday at 10 a.m. for the debut on Outsiders. Thank you all for jumping in. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for